You're listening to Spotlight, the podcast that fosters connections with veterans and military spouses. Here's your host, Bob Louthan.
Hey, this is your host, Bob Louthan, founder of the Veteran Crowd Network, the network that brings veterans and veteran-led businesses together with each other and the resources they need to prosper. And you are tuning into the Spotlight. And now a word about a Veteran Crowd Spotlight partner, Fund the First. Fund the First is the nation's leading crowdfunding platform for first responders, military, and medical professionals. Thanks to a partnership with ID.me, Fund the First is able to combat fraud and scams to ensure donors that money is going to a verified and trusted source. Visit fundthefirst.com for more details. Fund the First, crowdfunding for our nation's heroes. Pleased to have my friend Bill Militello with us this afternoon. Bill is a Naval Academy grad, class of 1992, which is a class in and of itself that has a lot of interesting history, I think. He is the founder and CEO of Militello Capital and also Localvest. He's in Naples, Florida. Bill, welcome to the program. Thanks for stepping into the spotlight.
Thank you so much, Bob. It's a thrill to be here. Appreciate it.
So I got to get this straight. Was it the class of 1992 that successfully kidnapped all 4 Army mules? Am I right about that?
I can neither confirm nor deny, right?
Okay. Well, see, the class of 1982 and VMI got away with one of them. But I have it under good sources that the class of 1992 at the Naval Academy got all 4 of them and took them to a bonfire on the night before the football game.
There may have been some barber's clippers there too, and some interesting things shaved into the hindquarters of those mules.
That's well, that's very interesting. I heard they had a bonfire. I would have gone so far as to barbecue one of them, but
no, we don't want to go that far, but we certainly had a good time. Yeah.
How did tell us about where you grew up and how did you wind up going to the Naval Academy, Bill?
Sure. So I grew up in a town called Bayonne, New Jersey, and it was a small town in northern New Jersey, and I ended up going to high school in the next town over in Jersey City, which I guess one of its claim to fame is that it's the New Jersey side of the Holland Tunnel. So that's what people know Jersey City for.
Right.
And I went to a Jesuit prep school called St. Peter's Prep at the corner of Grand and Warren in Jersey City. And there was a career day when I was a sophomore in high school, and it was about the Naval Academy, where all the service academies, and in fact, the representative of the service academies was there, and I was like, wow, I was so impressed with Napoleon McCallum, who was a big football player, right? And I said, gee, that's where I wanted to go to school. I want to go to school, and so that was the only school I applied to, and good thing I got in, right?
Right. You're smarter than me. I paid to go to military school. So,
well, listen, everybody who went to a service academy paid a price to go there, right?
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct about that. You did definitely pay a price once you were there, for sure.
Yeah, just we might never have written a check, but since this is probably G or PG programming, for all my my fellow alum, they know the saying that goes along with what I was referring to.
I would encourage you that most of the folks on our program are veterans. So if you need to go R-rated just to get the point across, it's acceptable. And of course, I can always bleep out anything that might not
so
be.
Bob, if I said that people would say, gee, in 1990, 1992, people would often comment that, wow, you're getting $250,000 education for free. And I said, of course, shoved up your ass a nickel at a time.
Yes, that's right. How did you decide to opt Marine Corps?
I don't know. 4 years in the Navy was enough for me, and it was time for a change. It was it's, I'll tell you, in all seriousness, what led me even to attend that Service Academy career conference at my high school was really interesting time. I was so another, I guess, fun fact, just to, between you and me, we share the same birthday, right? So we're both May 24th babies, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
How about that?
We're just a few years apart. But so when I was in
I didn't get a card.
it's in the mail. It's in the mail.
You won't miss it this year, right?
Okay. You'll get an email, right?
Okay.
We'll save a tree. So, but in all seriousness, I remember, I guess it was eighth grade. And it was around the time of the Marine barracks bombing in 1983. And so here I was in eighth grade. And I remember watching it on the TV in my parents' living room. And honest to God, I was so pissed off. And I watched that, and it changed me, just like I'm sure, young kids watching, 9/11. And so for me, I said, you know what, I'm going to do something about that. And so I said, I'm going to, as soon as I'm able, I'm going to join up. And it just happened to be, I went the route of the Naval Academy and then into the Marine Corps.
Approximately how many people opt to go Marine Corps option, in a given class? Is it 20% or?
I think maybe maximum something in that 15-20% range.
Right.
I'm no expert. It's been a few years since that's happened for me, like only 29 years ago. So it's
time's flying, right?
That's right. Yeah. So my memory might be a little hazy, and I'm sure those ratios have changed a bit.
You were an intel guy in the Marine Corps?
Yes, SIGINT, right? So I have an older brother who was a PLC Marine officer, and he went infantry, and I have a younger brother who was a OCS Marine infantry officer. And I remember saying, gosh, I guess I should be a Marine infantry officer at TBS. And
God, it's sort of like the family business there, Bill.
Yeah, a little bit, right? And so I signed up for infantry as my number one choice, and it just didn't necessarily sit right. And I went and knocked on the major's door, who's now a retired general, and I just said, sir, I'm not sure. I'm not sure infantry is right for me. And the major said, you know what, Militello, we agree. What else do you want to do? So
I could have told you that infantry was not right for me already. I had made my mind up. I wasn't doing that, but gosh. So a little bit, what did you do while you were in the Marine Corps?
So I was stationed at Camp Lejeune, and then deployed with the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit to Somalia. And
there's a garden spot.
Oh yeah, that's a lovely place.
Were you there in 93?
No, sir. I was there with the 26th MEU. The 24th MEU, who we came in to support, was the one that was there in 93, and they had seen the Battle of Mogadishu. We came in on the tail end of that. Certainly I saw enough that when I came back to Morehead City, North Carolina, and tied up to the pier, and I came out in my utilities and got down on all four on hands and knees, and there's seagull crap and tar and all sorts of stuff all over that pier, and I'm just sitting there, I'm on my hands and knees, and I just gave it a big old kiss, and I said, I am never leaving this place again. So, but in any event, that was my overseas duty, and then I got transferred to the National Security Agency up in Fort Meade, Maryland, and then I finished my 5-year commitment and got out.
You went to Wall Street.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Tell us about that. You also worked for the SEC as well.
Right. First to Wall Street. The transition from military to civilian life was a bit difficult. There weren't all these programs and the internet, and so it was tough to network, quite frankly. to just find a job. And I could remember, taking off several hours early from work. I'd get in whatever 6:37 a.m. and then I'd see if I could skip out around 1 or 1:30, 2 o'clock from Columbia, Maryland, and I would hightail it in my car up 95 to Jersey City, and I'd take the train, the subway PATH train into the city. Yeah, so I'd hightail it up to Midtown Manhattan by 4 o'clock when the markets would close. And of course, on the way, I'm changing out of my Marine Corps uniform, my Charlies, my Deltas, whatever, and getting into a suit and get my tie all right, and all to have a pocket full of quarters to call some grad or some veteran who's on a trading floor for, Bear Stearns or Lehman Brothers or Merrill or whoever, right? Jeffries, and call them up and say, hey, I happen to be in the neighborhood. Hey, can I come up and do a quick 10-15 minute informational interview? And they'd all be busy, and they'd say, call me back in 10 minutes or 5 minutes. And I'd call them back in 5 minutes, and then again and again. And I'd walk around the block to kill 5-10 minutes in lower Manhattan.
I don't know how you made it from 1:30 in Maryland to New York City at 4 o'clock. I mean, you had your ears pinned back on the Jersey Turnpike, I think.
Yeah, that crappy little Volkswagen Jetta was moving. It was
I
moving.
would say it was.
Yeah, so yeah, but that's what it took. It took, just doing, kind of what I thought was the way I needed to do it. But
did you do that during the middle of the week, or did you do it over the weekends?
Oh no, during the week, during market hours, right? So the markets would close at 4, and boy, I was that quarter was getting dropped into the payphone on the corner in front of that.
Young people don't realize how convenient they have it. I'm not even sure they would know how to use a payphone.
Yeah. So yeah, eventually, a few people would take my call and got a couple of informational interviews, and to be frank, none of them panned out. It was just another circumstance that ended up leading to to my first job on Wall Street. But I was just a professional pest, and so eventually somebody gave me a shot and took me under their wing, and I got my first job.
What'd you do? What'd you do? You went over to the dark side, working for the SEC. You were a consultant.
Well, after 9/11,
I'm only saying that in jest, folks. This was meant to be a joke.
Yeah. We just, for those of people
who have an SEC audit coming down next week.
Okay, that's right. I forgot you're licensed, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, but in all seriousness, after 9/11, Manhattan and the markets in New York were like a wounded bear.
Were you in New York in 9/11?
I was in Westchester. So Knight Trading Group had an office in Purchase, New York, which is right on the Greenwich border. And so we were there, and I got to tell you, I was the spider trader back then. And spider is SPY. Everybody knows that as an exchange traded fund. But back in 2000, 2001, there were only 2 ETFs. It was a novel concept. There was DIA and there's 3: DIA, triple Qs, and SPY. I was the spider trader, and I got in early, as I always did, just looking at the futures. And like 15-20 minutes before the first plane hit, you could see the futures just starting to fall off. And I was like, that is the weirdest thing. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:45 in the morning, and the futures are moving big time. And then, 20 minutes later, the plane hit.
Did they already know? Did they know? Were they reacting to the fact that airplanes have been hijacked? Do you think?
I don't know.
That's kind of spooky, Bill.
You draw your own conclusions, my friend. But you just got to roll back the tape, and you'll know what I say is accurate. That they definitely they moved in advance of the plane's hit.
So you've got a little bit of an entrepreneurial flair to you. You recognize some opportunities not long after 9/11 and actually started to act on it. 2003, is that the first company you formed, Piedmont?
I did, yes. In January 15, 2003, I hung out a shingle as my first entrepreneurial endeavor, and I started a wealth management business, a registered investment advisory firm called Piedmont.
Do you think being a military person and having gone to Naval Academy and having been in the Marine Corps, does that help make you an entrepreneur, or do entrepreneurs go into the military? I'm curious, whether it's one versus the other. But
That's a really interesting question. I read this Small Business Administration analysis and said that military service has a stronger correlation or indicator of entrepreneurship than graduate level education. So someone with about 4 or 5 years of military service is about 50% more likely to become an entrepreneur than the average.
we'd have to study and see whether the military draws it out or not. I think there got to be some things that you got in what I call the crucible of the military that have helped you be an entrepreneur. What was the entrepreneurial journey like in 2003? Because I've had military veterans say that they thought that was harder than being in the service.
Well, harder than being in the service. There's certainly, there is a range of experiences in the service, and by no means do I ever want to, make
Right.
light of the tremendous sacrifices of veterans who have been in combat or were suffering from PSD or lost a limb, or those that didn't come back. But certainly different, right? It's different, and it is it's difficult. I went in with a good bit of cockiness and hubris, and the markets and life and business and just reality kind of hit you, and humbled me quite a bit. I thought, gee, hey, I got this degree, and I was a Marine officer, and I worked at NSA, and I had some time on Wall Street, and blah blah blah, and like, my golly, I'm so great that I'm going to put a hat in the middle of the room and rich guys are going to throw money in it.
Yeah.
And guess what? It didn't happen that way. So anybody who has thought that has consequently been pretty humbled, as I was, and didn't take a paycheck for 18 months. And I would tell the story. I'd put my head down on my desk, and tears coming out of my eyes, going, what the hell did I do? Because I'm not making any money.
Well, you persevered, though. Do you recall the breakthrough moment when you finally got, out
yeah,
into the open a little bit?
the perseverance may be just sheer ignorance, right? It was that whole what the scientists talk about with the bumblebee, that aerodynamically and the size of the body
Shouldn't be able to fly.
Shouldn't be able to fly, but good thing bumblebees can't read, right? Well, I guess I never read the memo that says, hey Bill, you shouldn't be in business. But I did, and really, me going out there as a financial advisor, wealth manager, with my pie chart and my Brinson Bauer study and asset allocation and all that, and that, hey, I'm a fee only fiduciary that gives great service, and realized that wasn't a differentiator, and that there was only 100,000 other guys out there and ladies saying the same thing. So it was really out of frustration. I'm in front of a wealthy gentleman, and I had heard this again, like, I've already got a guy. Gee, Bill, you're a really nice guy, and you're a smart fella, but
Yep.
I already got a guy. And so, and I would take that. I take my medicine, my lumps, and sort of with my tail between my legs, leave their office, and go and try to set another appointment with a rich guy. And I guess it was something that happened that day that, I don't know, maybe I didn't have my Cheerios or my bran flakes or something, and I was a little ornery, and I just kind of, I don't want to say I lost it, but I definitely got really aggressive with him. I said, what will it take for you to open an account with me? That was it. And then I just sat there and looked at him, and he's like, show me a deal. I go, what? You want me to like research a stock for you or something? I said, and he goes, no, no, no. He goes, how did I make my money? And of course I did my research. He goes, oh, they made it in commercial real estate or apartment buildings or something.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, show me a deal like that. And so I was like, well, okay. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but I would go and find somebody who had an apartment building deal or a condo
Would
deal.
you call this a pivot? You know,
It was a
for your
pivot.
business. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, what the funny thing that happened is I had no idea what was going on in at the time. But what he was doing is he was opening up the door for me to come back to him. And so when I came back to him with the deal, I was like, hey, listen, this guy over here needs to finish this project. He's short some money. And here are the deal terms. So here you go. And he's like, all right, go ask these questions and get me answers. Okay. And then I'd bring him back and he'd send me back and forth a few times. And then finally, I said, hey, I got your last set of questions. And we met at Starbucks in Tyson's Corner on a Sunday afternoon. And I just pass it off to him. And I say, hey, here's the answers to your questions. This is what the guy's doing. I'm like, I wasn't busy, so I might as well have been meeting with him. I wasn't busy running my business. So I had plenty of time. And I don't know why, it was just unconscious. And I said, so what do you want to do? And he goes, yeah, I think I'm gonna put 400 grand in. I said, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm in for 400. And so I went and told the guy, and so he did it, and a bunch of other people did it too. And of course I felt, somewhat responsible for making the introduction. So I would call the real estate guy who was doing the deal, the operator, the developer, and get an update a month later, 2 months later, and I'd get my little talking points and put it in my suit jacket pocket and call the guy up, call up the folks that had written the checks. And I'd say, hey, I just talked to the real estate developer. I said, I got an update. Do you want to hear him? He goes, yeah. Not only did he pick up the phone, but he was like, wanted to meet right away. And so we sat down, and I'd sit down and I'd read him my little notes. And I thought that was it. And he's buying me a glass of wine. I'm like, oh, this is a different attitude. And so what happened next was he'd look me in the eye and go, that's good. You got any other deals? And I go, no, what are you talking about? I told you
more.
And so, and then I caught on the second, third time I caught on, and I said, gee,
you were walking in there every time with a deal in your hand at that point, right?
Yeah. So, and so that's what it was. They started to see me as an equal, as we weren't talking financial advisor to high net worth client anymore. We were talking entrepreneur to entrepreneur.
Right.
And so once we achieved like the similar language, and he saw me as an equal, then it was no problem getting their Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, account moved over to the RIA. And that's when the business exploded and it took off from there.
Now, you've been building
by accident.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I tell you, I call myself an accidental investment banker. I was trying to do something else, and the guy called me up and asked me to help him with something, and that just sent me down an entirely different path. So, you just sort of never know. But I tell you what, when the market tells you to do something, listen.
Amen.
Right. That's the lesson in that. You've been building kind of technological solutions in the marketplace for a number of years now, and I want to get into what Localvest is all about and start talking about that. Let's drill down on that one a little bit. Talk about Localvest and the ties to the military.
Sure. Yeah, and thanks for asking. So I'm a 4-time entrepreneur. Started 4 companies, have sold 2, all in financial services and regulated entities, except for Localvest. It's fintech, but it's not a regulated entity. And it really started again, kind of out of a need of my third company, Militello Capital. We had about 400 limited partners, dozens of financial intermediaries like family offices, RIAs that bought products, financial products, private investment products, Reg D products that we had created in commercial real estate or venture and funds and et cetera. And and we had a communication problem where, I was spending all day like the Ken doll, where you pull the string on your back, having these same 10 or 15-minute conversations with people. Wasn't getting any work done, just updating them on how their investments were going. And I said, gee, we really need to be able to have a consistent message out there and kind of a self-service portal.
And you can scale.
And you can scale, right? And
Yeah,
I can,
yeah.
stop having the same doggone conversation 20 times a day. So we looked up and down at like investment portals that were on the market at the time, and we really didn't think much of them, right? Didn't think they really, would work well. And so, in our hubris, or mine, I said, well, we could just build our own. I mean, it's software. How difficult could that be?
You're about to find out, right?
Yeah. Oh, whop. Yeah, right across the head, right? So 6 years later, no, but in all seriousness, what happened was, we always had a view that that communication was distribution, and distribution through communication. That if you wanted to syndicate something, you had to communicate. You had to communicate well. You had to communicate often. And so we built some tools and this platform really for Militello Capital's benefit. And then my co-founder, John Bracken, who's UVA, Berkeley MBA, also the co-founder of evite.com back in the day. He developed the AIM messaging system at AOL. So smart guy. And we're sitting across the conference room, and he's like, Bill, this works for Militello Capital. I'm like, yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, we went from 4 business development guys who were highly paid that didn't do a lot to 1 to none, because the software, syndicated the deals for us. Mm-hmm. And so he says, how many more Militello Capitals are out there? And I said, a bunch. And he goes, yeah, we just had our AWS moment. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, Amazon built AWS for itself, and then it decided that other people could use it too. And I said, yep. So you're going to make me rewrite this software, right? You're going to have me pay to rewrite this software? And he goes, yeah, well, what we thought was going to be a 4 to 6 month rewrite was an 18 to 24 month rewrite. And so we launched, and I said, and this is where it connects to veterans and military veteran entrepreneurs and real estate operators, is I said, listen, I've had success with 3 companies. And the part that I disliked the most about fund management was saying no to good entrepreneurs, and not for the reason of I didn't like their deal or their company. It's just that, hey, we just had a finite amount of capital, and our fund was only a big, and we could only make so many investments. And I said, yeah, it would be great to put these tools in the hands of really underserved communities. And I can't think of an underserved community that's more deserving of help than, the military veteran, in helping them raise capital, help them put gas in the tank of their deal so they can go out and be successful. They made massive sacrifices. If anybody deserves to be successful in the United States of America, or veteran business owners, and to have them go out and create jobs and create wealth for themselves and for others, and really solve the problem. Because, as you probably well know, that anybody raising capital, the success of an entrepreneur, if they need to raise capital, the success of an entrepreneur is largely dependent on the size of the wallet of their personal network. So leaving the military with a bunch of O2s and O3s, a bunch of JOs transitioning, and now you want to go start a business and raise $1 million. Well, everybody knows it makes 50 grand a year. Like, how, nobody's writing you a check that's worth, much. So, it's worth a lot to them.
And at that stage, it's very personal investing. Yeah, they might like the idea, but they're really making the investment in you as an individual. That's the primary driver.
Yes. So that's why we decided to focus on the military veteran entrepreneur, and Localvest helps them raise capital.
And you described Localvest as the top of the funnel the other day
Yeah,
when we
that's
were
right.
chatting. So does Localvest work for the guy that's raising 200 grand? I mean, is there sort of
Yeah,
a tipping point?
sure it does. In fact, people have raised $200,000 on Localvest. And so from a process perspective, it is the Localvest is comprised of three things. It's comprised of SaaS tools that help lever your time and do it in a compliant manner, a process in which to use those tools, and then connects you to a network to sort of jumpstart
Does
or
this sort of
kickstart.
keep you in the center of the fairway for like a
Yeah,
Reg D offering, so to speak?
correct. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, there's ways for them to you know to find themselves in the rough or a bunker if they do them wrong, but do it wrong. But but that's on them. We certainly guide them
And
and
works
show them.
interstate or intrastate, all that kind of,
There you go. Yeah, it does. The tools do guide you, and they do help to keep you in the center of the fairway from a compliance perspective, but save you hundreds of hours of labor, but also connect you to a very, friendly, uh, I want to say homogeneous group of accredited investors who are largely military veterans and service academy grads. So they want to invest in their own, as you said, early, these companies, it's a high degree of trust. And so even with and among veterans, there is this implied trust. So people have been very successful with small raises, large raises.
Are veterans investing in veterans? I know about Scott Mackey's. We can, give the shout out to them, but is
Yes.
it veterans investing in veterans too?
Veterans investing in veterans, yes. And in fact, Scott Mackes has an investor group on Localvest, and I think it boasts over 1,000 accredited investors. So imagine the wallet, that the
Right.
investing wallet. So that's why deals get done. We don't have a
We can't
transaction
talk
engine.
about we can't talk about specific securities transactions on this podcast, so I'll just put the kibosh on that. But is there a company or a success story that maybe comes to mind that you could share with the audience?
Gosh, there's so many. I mean, we were beta testing this for almost 2 years with military veteran entrepreneurs and service academy grads, both real estate, funds, startups, Series Seed, Series A. And we've got a laundry list of success stories. I can think of one guy in particular, a West Point guy, class I'm going to say 85. I'll probably get that wrong, but and so I apologize. It's and he was trying to raise $500,000 for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and just wasn't getting any takers. And I was like, let me see this deal. And I looked at the deal and I said, are you crazy? You just signed a this distribution contract with this, multi-billion-dollar company. I'm like, what? This is nuts. So I said, get on the platform, create a deal tile. I said, and through Scott Mackes and the Service Academy Investor Group, they, he pitched one night, and I think in 2 days he raised $550,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as a result, he's in business, and he's growing, and so I consider that to be a great success story, and really proves the power of the technology.
What's the future hold for Localvest? I mean, you're not wrestling with the alligators and draining the swamp right now. You're kind of going for the future here. So, what's the vision for the next couple of years?
Well, I think just doing more of the same. We don't want to. We took a stance that we don't want to participate in the economics of a transaction. We're not going to take warrants or options or commission or a board seat or anything like that. We're going to just give you tools and a process and attach you to a network, and let you have success and keep 100 cents on a dollar of what you raise. So
Bill Militello is selling picks and shovels to the miners, ladies and gentlemen. That transition. I got to congratulate you. It's a great strategy, though. Really.
Well, listen. After 3 financial services companies, maybe I've found religion.
There you go. Hey, Bill, it amazes me how quick 30 minutes goes by. So we got to do what I call the lightning round now, which which will be fun. I got to get my little sound effects here ready so that I've got this right. So, you'll hear this. Oh, shoot. Well, if I turn my volume on, let's see if I can make it work here. Turn that up. There we go. All right, I got
There you
that.
go.
Ready? All
All
right. So
right.
you ready for the lightning round on the Veteran
Yes.
Crowd
Yeah,
Network?
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, first question. If you had to choose another branch of the military and MOS outside the Marine Corps, what would it be?
Well, I originally wanted to be, a Navy SEAL, but man, those guys were, a lot tougher and smarter than me. So that was a dream.
Okay.
Didn't happen.
All right, Navy SEAL. All right, second question. What do you think was the hardest life lesson that your service in the military taught you?
Well, it was probably after the service as a result that, hey, when you said you were going to do something, you did it. And, your word was your bond, truly was your bond. And when you said that after the military, they didn't really mean it. And it was a lot of lessons learned, a lot of pain and anguish as a result of trusting people who used words like military people used them, but really didn't mean them.
You just bring up a great point. I mean, it's so few people now go through the military versus like our father's generation, right? And boy, we could use a lot more of that baked into the civilian world. All right, so that's the second question. The third and final question, and I told you about this, I wanted to see if you've had time to think about it. What's one interesting trivial fact about Bill Militello that you can share?
So back in the day, I told you we grew up in New Jersey, so we'd take our family trip sometimes to Hershey Park, and I was the test taste kid for the Kit Kat.
Test case for the Kit Kat.
I was the taste test kid for the Kit Kat bar in Hershey Park.
You're going to be forever famous for that one. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. That's a great question. I'll tell you what, see, I get some interesting tidbits every time I do this. Folks, we've been listening to Bill Militello. He's the founder and CEO of Militello Capital and Localvest. He's in Naples, Florida, U.S. Naval Academy grad, a Marine Corps veteran. Bill, thank you for stepping into the spotlight on the Veteran Crowd Network.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity.
You guys have been listening to the Spotlight on the Veteran Crowd Network. We air on Tuesdays and Fridays and bring military veterans that are making a difference in our community to you every week. I'll say a shout out to you, the Army version, Bravo Zulu, to you, Bill, and that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to Spotlight by Veteran Crowd. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and uploads, please visit our website at veterancrowdnetwork.com. We'll see you next time.